All set. Okay, it's 7 p.m., August 20th, 2024, in City Hall, 140 Main Street, Torrington, Connecticut. Time to call the City of Torrington Inland Wetlands Commission to order. Serving on the commission this evening are members Christine Altman, who's remote, Adrian Barb, Joe Paganini, Randall Stelma, myself, Jay Bate. Also present is Nate Nardi Cyrus, Inland Wetlands Enforcement Officer and Assistant City Planner. Next is minutes for approval for the July 9th, 2024 regular meeting. I have a motion to approve.
Yes, I'll make a motion to approve the July 9th, 2024 regular meeting minutes.
I have a second.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Christine?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Motion carries. Next is old business, which there's none. Next is show cause hearing. Applicant Stephen Zadronsky. I spelled that, if I said that right. Location 87 Eagle Ridge, assessor map 244, block 006, lot 173. Violation, non-compliance with wetlands permit for site restoration.
I can update everyone on this. So this was 87 Eagle Ridge. Originally, there was a permit for a single family home on a vacant lot. Came to inland wetlands, kind of an unusual, difficult to develop lot. That permit was granted. As soon as work started, it was violated. The entire lot was cleared and all the wetlands were, graded and kind of messed up. So we worked with the developer to put together a restoration plan, which this commission approved in 2023. Immediately after, the applicant came back and kind of over the subsequent 6 months or so, 4 months, revised that permit. I don't know if you remember, we talked about boulder placement versus putting shrubs and all that. And so that permit was approved early in 2024. And then in spring of 2024, that the original applicant did the site work, got the certificate of occupancy, but had seeded the site and installed plantings. And the city took a bond of about $2,000 to cover the seeding to make sure that that seeding was, in fact, the restoration mix that had been agreed upon in the permit. Turns out after monitoring it, that seed mix was just lawn and not actually restoration seed mix as spec'd. So, we had to come up with basically, we held back the bond until they would go back and restore the site. Since in that intermittent time, because the CO was issued, the property changed hands to a new property owner, and they had an interest in maintaining it as lawn and keeping it as lawn with the shrubs there. And so I let them know that I would issue a show cause and have them come and talk to you all, because that's, a violation of the permit as it exists now. Spoke with the owner, Mr. Zadrzinski, and he said he's going to allow the original applicant and developer to come back and restore the site. So I'm going to do that kind of in consultation with the current landowner and the landscaper to make sure we're all on the same page and that they can maintain the plantings that were put there while, getting some restoration seed mix back into that area. So, so that should be all set. There's no need to rule on this because it's in compliance. He's allowing the applicant to go and complete the restoration that was a part of their permit. So no need for any action on this. We can just, table it.
Okay, thanks. Next is new business. Applicant Stephen Mazzarelli. Location Mountain Road, assessor map 231, block 001, lot 019. Activity jurisdictional determination, constructed pond improvements.
Yeah, and you can.
State your name for the record.
Steve Mazzarelli, James Doyle, Innovative Lawn and Landscape.
So you-
I'm going to share their proposed, the proposed plan. Give me a quick second. Right, can you see that, Christine?
Yes.
Okay.
So the pond that you see here, we got a permit, I think it was about 2 years ago, maybe 2.5 years ago. The year we put it in, it was a very dry year. It took over a year to fill up. And what we're looking to do with a maintenance of the spillway, which is, I don't know if you could point to it. Yeah, that area right there. We're looking to maintain that. That is undisturbed. When the pond was put in, there was nothing done there. When we were granted a permit, the water was supposed to flow into the woods to the right. So now that it's been about a year since it's been filled, we'd like to maintain that area a little bit better. So.
Yeah, so basically, this was what I was able to come up with pretty quick here, and open to suggestions here on other options. This area is about 100 feet or so, give or take, on real wet times, and as short as 50 to maybe 80 feet. That's unmaintainable. That continues to be just saturated and turns to mud and has to be weed whacked, basically resulting in extensive times to maintain it and get it cut down so that it can dry out and kind of go through the the maintenance cycle here. So at this point, he's not really able to maintain a decent, section of that north side. I think it's the north side of the pond.
Yes.
So some type of riprap swale or something that can at least carry some of that water out. Again, we're open to other suggestions if there's other ideas that are approved based off of what the original application was when the original pond was put in last year. That's kind of where we're at as far as and just restoring it with just a normal seed mix, based off the other current lawn conditions surrounding the pond.
And I'll just note that this is a jurisdictional determination. It's not a permit application. They the history on this, I can share the browser here. Let's see if I can make this actually work. Second. Can everyone see? Christine, can you see the pond?
Yes, I can.
So the original jurisdictional determination, which I believe was in 2005, well, for the clearing of the original
The
lot
original was,
there.
that was when we cleared it, and
Right.
then I came back many years later and put another applicant in to put the pond in,
Right.
and I did that also. It got approved, and it was built, and we're just trying to maintain it now.
Right. So the first jurisdictional determination was just for the clearing of the lot for pasture and for fruit trees and
Fruit trees,
Christmas trees.
Christmas trees, and but
Yeah, and then the second, and so then some years later, well, so it was originally 2005, I want to say, and then 2021, the request for putting the pond in for irrigation for those was granted, and so now this is just a further request for modification of the pond. And the commission's role is to determine if this is an agricultural use that's basically means that the commission doesn't have jurisdiction and, no permit is necessary for this application.
So what do you want to water with this? You're doing this for agriculture?
so originally I bought this lot for my house. My retirement plan is to plant more fruit trees, Christmas trees, and something I could do in my spare time when I'm retired. So I've been prepping that. It's obviously takes years to get to there. So hopefully that'll allow me to do that in the future.
But you don't have any trees planted there now to water?
I had, if you look on the left-hand side, there's about, I don't know, I just planted another 8 fruit trees. So now I have about, I'm gonna say about 20 there right now, and they take many years to grow and bear fruit.
Now, this isn't a farm.
No,
Another question I have is, do you own the lot next door where this pond drains to?
no. That was just recently purchased by somebody. I'm not even sure who the landowner is now.
So is there a lot of water running out of this at high?
No,
Right.
it's not high, heavy volumes or anything like that. Even in an excessive rainstorm, it's just a continuous slow trickle that just doesn't allow it to dry out, being soil and seed.
But there was never a river here or a creek,
No.
so now the neighbor is
So
absorbing your water?
there is another pond on the lot next door. I don't know if you can,
I believe it's right here.
yes, it's right there, and that flows down there also. So if you walk in the woods, there is a stream or a trickle there
Mhm.
that all the wetlands is draining towards, and it goes down into Sunnybrook. Like if you zoom out, you could see that uh,
Maybe down in through here.
yeah, it's the start of the Sunnybrook waterway there.
Mhm. So you want to put riprap or something down there?
Something to narrow that down and clean it up so I could maintain it better.
I'm a little concerned about it running on your neighbor's property. That's what my. concern
Originally,
about
that's
this
what it
whole
was-
thing is.
the
If you
original
owned the
permit was to
property and
do.
it went over there, I wouldn't care. You know, we could do riprap, there wouldn't be a problem. But I don't know what your neighbor thinks about you riprapping basically a small stream that could possibly flood into his land. That's the issue I have about this.
So what would be the current question and the condition of it already going there, whether it's over turf grass or through riprap? It's not gonna increase based off of
Mhm.
the type of material there. It's already doing it.
I know, but it probably shouldn't be.
So what's the topography here? Where's the elevations? Can you show us that?
I can try to get that up on here. I'd say it gently slopes.
It's
This
it's
way?
less than a 2%
Yeah.
slope.
Real
Oh,
gradual.
Real
Yeah,
gradual.
yeah, it's basically flat. So it's not like, you know, you have a 2-foot grade change over, 40 feet. It's very, very gradual.
So
And
there's no inlet to this pond?
No,
It's just
Yeah.
groundwater?
approximately how deep is the pond?
it's about 12 feet. The deepest section is if you're looking at the screen, the bottom. And the shallowest is where the spillway is.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't find contour lines here unless I'm skipping over them, but it is kind of a gentle sort of sloping. I would almost say it slopes kind of in this direction. Does that seem right or
So in the property, the farthest corner to the top right is the lowest point.
this one or down
No,
here?
farthest, yeah, that is the lowest point of the property. Where the spillway is, that's pretty flat. That, in fact, that wetlands grade line right there is about flat.
Yeah, I was wondering about reversing the flow
Away from your
away
neighbor.
from your neighbor, so that it wouldn't be an issue with your neighbor. I don't know what the law is about that, draining on your neighbor's property.
That's it's a civil issue. So it ends up being like if the neighbor, had an issue with it, that they could take it to court and it would be between parties. But I know our zoning regulations don't have any don't govern the movement of water between properties.
So if we allowed him to put riprap in to drain the overflow of his pond onto neighbor's property, or not held liable for doing it?
Well, if so, the question at hand is whether or not it's an agricultural determination not requiring a permit. So if granted, the commission wouldn't be granting a permit. They would just be basically making the determination that they have no jurisdiction over the project. And so in that case, there would be no liability because there would be no permit issued. It's the question is only the agricultural um uh if the project is an agricultural improvement or serving an agricultural use.
Can we have a
If it
definition
was
for that?
determined that it wasn't and it had to get a permit, then, maybe these questions could be addressed in some way.
I just have a question as far as like basically on the grounds that the original pond was approved underneath an agricultural, determination or permit. If this is an improvement for something that was already basically approved. I mean, I don't think the again, I don't know.
I don't know what the original, do
Mike-
you have the original plans of the pond?
I do have the original approval. Give me a quick second to pull that up.
I have an original map that
Yeah, I have that, so I'll put that on the screen.
They have the topography on it?
Doesn't have the oh, it does have the topography on it,
This
right?
one does.
Yeah, let me pull that up.
You want to look at it?
I believe that was this one.
Okay, so there's no drain showing on that. No overflow.
No, that was my proposal. I took the map from the town and I drew that oval, and that's what we were permitted for and approved for. And when we went through and we talked about the spillway, and it wasn't Nate, it was
It was
Jeremy.
Jeremy, yeah.
He's the one that instructed us to do it exactly how we ended up doing it. And you can see the topography, everything flows either down to that corner or into the neighbor's property.
Right.
That's 1025 here, and then can't find another contour, but yes, it does move that way.
Well, how wide is this overflow? How many feet wide?
The current one or the proposed like for prep? The overflow right now is approximately 40 feet wide.
Okay.
It's you know, almost bellied. You can mow through it with like a 0-turn mower, you know.
And it's just grass right now?
Correct.
It just gets so wet you can't.
Yeah, I mean, it's causing damage to the point where you gotta pull a mower out. So I mean, you have 1-foot ruts and
Okay.
mud. That's how substantial it is. Just because it doesn't really have a chance to dry out.
What's the problem if you just leave it natural?
It's, to me,
Pretty close to the road. I mean, this guy's out mowing his lawn every Saturday. He tries to keep it very well cosmetically maintained. And, you know, from an appearance standpoint, it's a large enough section that if it's not controlled, it's a pretty unmaintained area. Like, I'm not gonna speak on his behalf, but I don't think that that's what he wants to do.
at some point, if I do get the Christmas tree farm started down below the pond and people wanted to walk around the pond, it'd be a problem also.
That would be the area, like, rather than having them up by the house.
Correct. So the house, it's a buildable lot. There's the house that's proposed there. There's no house there now.
Remember when you got the permit to cut the trees down? And I believe there was a stipulation then that you weren't supposed to mow the lawn. It's supposed to be, the trees were supposed to be removed and you were gonna be able to mow the lawn like 4 times a year to keep the invasives out.
And it was, I also said it may be a hayfield also, because
Yeah.
it was a hayfield originally when I bought the property.
And then you started mowing it cosmetic.
More frequently, just because it was so hard to maintain when it was 4 feet tall.
Because if it's already 40 feet wide, I'm more worried about like heavy rains and it overflows and it scours and goes onto your neighbor's property and dumps stuff over there, you know, whether it's rocks or, I know it's not much of a grade, but it still is a grade. I was thinking if you could spread it wider, but if it's already 40 feet wide, there's not much more you can do with that. Anybody else have any ideas about this?
Well, how close to the adjacent property line would the repair end? I mean, is it going to be 20 feet away from the property line?
I'd
50
say 20 to
away?
25 feet
25
at
feet.
minimum, yeah.
So that area of 25 feet would still be 40 feet wide, but it will.
No,
It'd be-
not with the repair. It'd be much smaller and narrower.
Much smaller and narrow. And
Just to,
that would,
just to contain it.
and that would contain grasses.
I'm sorry?
That would contain grass or whatever wildflower, whatever wild planting is there.
So the outsides of the swale could be either a meadow mix or,
Oh,
some
so
type,
So it's gonna go all the way to the property line, the swale.
correct.
Well, if you look at, I have another map that's here before the pond was built with your border lines.
Yeah,
The-
let me.
The property's not cleared all the way to the actual border line. I don't know how many feet it is from the line. I haven't had it surveyed in years.
Here you go. It's hard to tell with our maps because they're not particularly accurate. This does look pretty good though, because you could see the stone wall here and they probably was originally constructed on the stone wall. So there is a buffer of approximately, what, 20 feet before you hit the actual property line through the woods.
20 to 25 would be sufficient. If that is in fact correct.
One of my concerns is put riprap in there, it's just gonna increase the water flow. It's not gonna just sit there and start to evaporate, it's gonna go down the riprap.
Yeah, I mean, most of the installations that we've done, it helps mitigate the water speed. That's the reason for putting in, is to slow it down. And I mean, again, I have heard that before too, on most cases. We do a fair amount of drainage work, and 5 to 8 inch modified riprap is the preferred method of slowing and retaining things for like a slope, and so I have heard both, but I mean, I haven't seen it really increase volumes unless we're making like a real deep belly and on a steep incline. Obviously with velocity and going down grade, it could pick up some speed and cause issues. But I don't think even with the heavy rains, it's not like it's not like you're standing in this amount of water that's coming out. I've gone up there a couple times during the these last few rainstorms through June and July, and it's not like it's filling up and pushing out like crazy during a rainstorm. It's just that slow trickle effect that it.
So this riprap would be around 20 feet from the property line?
Based off of that map, I use a system called Land Glide, and I mapped it out, and I got 23 feet. So that's saying 21, Nate, what was it, 21.6 or something like that. So we would propose to stop it at minimum 20 feet from the property line. It's not going all the way into the woods.
So the purpose of this riprap is you're gonna mow up to the riprap.
Correct.
You just want the riprap in there so you don't have tall grass.
Basically to contain the wet spots. The wet spot would stay within
Yeah,
that,
stay
within
within
that
that, stay
spot, and then he can mow up to that and maintain it to keep it down. Correct. So, I mean, and if there's suggestions as far as some, plantings, I'm sure Steve's
Sure.
open to putting some native plantings, along the side of it to, help soak up some of the water and, make it not look like a manufactured swale or something to that effect. I mean, I think we're open to ideas. Again, that's just something at a low cost and a low
Mhm.
disruption to the area, was my suggestion.
Now, at the budding property, the grade is still running towards Sunnybrook.
That whole entire, from Mountain Road down this way, all of the properties, are gradually sloped towards the back.
Is there a creek running down that side or not? Is it just woods?
If I walk in the woods, there is a creek for water that's flowing downstream. If you go back to the map, you go
Yes.
back to the Sunnybrook.
Probably does. Yeah.
There's a couple, I think
You
there's
could
a
see
couple inlets that come off of the road from the roadworks.
Yeah.
They have some of those like catch pools that basically, they're a low point that collects water and distributes mainly in between neighboring properties.
Mhm.
I don't know if there's one exactly there. I know there's one past Marshall Lake.
I was going to try to pull up the Google Maps on there for folks to get an idea of what it looks like from the road. So that's the lot. This was in 2012, so this is prior to the creation of the pond. But the pond sits a little closer to the road than what's shown on the original drawing. It's kind of roughly, and I don't know, would you say like this boulder here and that tree, kind of roughly in that area?
Yeah, it goes probably over to the other tree there, yeah.
Yeah, so that's that's the grade we're talking about here. It's pretty flat. Kind of it definitely is like the hill comes down like this.
Yep.
And it starts to flatten out there.
And it's the lowest point in the back corner.
Did you have to build up the grade on the left side there to retain the pond?
The backside. The backside.
A little
road
bit,
on the
yeah.
left,
We
yeah.
followed
Driving by
Jeremy's
this, looking to the
recommendations
left,
of
I
what to
feel
do.
like it's kind of up a little bit because,
We dug into the
dug
hill,
in.
if you will.
gotcha.
You can see the rock lining here for building it up, right? There's like a berm, a little bit of a berm here.
Yeah.
You can kind of see the difference in the color of everything, you know?
So right now it's 40 feet wide, right? That swale that takes the water, and you're gonna proposing putting riprap in there. How wide of a rip?
At most 10 feet, 4 to 10 feet. You know, I don't have, again, that I'm open to suggestions as far as what the commission would want to see. I mean, typically on something like this that we've done in like a residential setting, it's been no wider than 8 to 10 feet. The wider, obviously, it has, in my opinion, and what I've been instructed in past situations, the wider you go, obviously, the slower the volume will be. You put something real narrow and give it, you know, kind of a highway to shoot right through it, you know, it picks up, you know, volume pretty quickly. So I would say, you know, 6 to 10 feet would be my recommendation, but
Yeah, generally, I've noticed our engineering department, you know, like a level spreader essentially is what you'd be building at the end if they flared the end,
Correct.
just to have the most.
Building department looked at this, the city engineer?
Since it's not a permit application, I didn't refer it because it, you know, in that case, it may require drawings, but like, you know, engineered drawings. But if you're just, you know, looking to make recommendations, they could flare the end.
This is agricultural first.
Right, that's what, yeah, that's where we're at right now.
Now, what warrants agricultural use?
Thank
Do you
you.
have to be named a farm?
No, it's the expansion of cropland or agricultural activities pretty loosely defined, you know, as, you know, operations or improvements necessary to the operation of a farm. That's the language. So yeah, like expansion of cropland, that was the original jurisdictional determination for this, was the clearing of trees within the wetland area and removal of boulders to expand crop or pasture land. And then the pond was for irrigation for trees, livestock. So the prior approvals had to do with, you know, with that use. Not approval is the wrong word. It's just it's a determination that you have no jurisdiction.
See, most of the time we're doing this, people already have a farm and they have, you know, trees to water, they have goats or whatever, cattle. In this case, there's really nothing you're doing that's agricultural other than growing grass.
Like I said, I do have fruit trees there, and I plan on for retirement, planting some Christmas trees. So I'm gonna keep myself busy for those years.
So is there a time limit if one was to determine that this is agricultural use?
Mhm.
Is there a time limit as to when that must take place, or is it just open forever?
I mean, there's no like clear statute. I'm sure there's some case law related to this that I haven't looked into, but you know, it's the commission's determination as to whether or not they think it's for an agricultural purpose.
If in fact the applicant came with a plan that showed Christmas trees, fruit trees in this area, one could then designate that, yes, the intention is to be agricultural use. Without that, how does a board make a determination that what we're being told is going to become reality and not continue to be a hayfield?
A
I
lawn.
mean, one possible solution to that is to state on the record some kind of time frame that's like mutually agreed upon by the parties as far as when agricultural activities are going to start on the property. And then if there's no agricultural activity by then, you know, essentially we could do like a show cause hearing and, you know, have you come back and talk about why there is or isn't agricultural activity on the property, or give an update or something like that.
and there's been on multiple occasions, phases of tree plantings that have started that have happened at multiple different times.
Yeah.
So far. So there's already a starting process into that. So it's not like it's just an open hayfield. There are 20 plus trees planted there currently.
on multiple different phases for that purpose.
The commission can always ask for more information. So if that's something that you would make you feel more comfortable, you could always ask them to write up a plan, like an implementation plan, like when they're looking at planting X trees and, talking about what they've done already. And then if that's,
Yeah.
you'd have that on the record to make your determination off of.
I kind of like that.
I'm
I
also
feel that,
interested in more
uh,
information.
I can understand what's being requested and I don't have any significant problem with what's being requested. But I do have a problem with designating the fact that it's agricultural, if in fact a plan is not shown. I think that we need to see, in my opinion, a plan with some timetable as to what is going to be the use of that property.
How many acres is this?
The whole property is 5.122 acres.
And then,
on
yeah,
the map.
and his adjacent property is 2.78. So, I mean, if this matters in Torrington, a farm zoning has to be over 3 acres.
Yeah, so it's over 3.
So if in fact, the pond's purpose was for irrigation, correct me if that was its purpose, then its intended purpose has never been lived up to because the trees, unless you have irrigation right now for those fruit trees that are,
And it's under 12 months since the construction of the pond. It's not, it hasn't been there for years, but
no.
I would understand if it was 5 years later and there was nothing done with it yet, but it hasn't even been
Yeah,
a full
well-
calendar
Well,
year.
that's my concern going forward.
That pond's only been there for a year.
It's been, I think, 2 years.
Oh, 2 years. Okay, 22. Yeah, yeah. My
I
apologies.
mean, I live around the corner. I feel like I've seen it for longer than that, but
So March 2022, it wasn't in yet. So it was the summer of that
Summer of
year.
22.
I think it
Or
was the
fall.
following year because we went through the fall to get the permit. I think it was granted in the fall.
Mhm.
Or I tried to look up my emails this morning to prepare it a little bit.
Right. Yeah, it looks like, I mean, this is
It was
March 2023. So, either dug that winter or,
Yeah, it
fall.
was
Probably the end of,
2022. Yeah.
So I guess if you go back to the sketch, just go back to the original proposal where the contractor showed the sketch of what was going to be done.
Yeah.
Some dimensions there are important to have.
Sure.
The 20 feet we talked about,
Yep.
the width. All those dimensions should be part of the
Yeah.
request.
I'll do a more formal, on PDF sketch. This was in Nate's office that I
Yeah.
drew this up. So
Right.
I just wanted to make sure we got it on the agenda. So I'll
Understood.
put those
Just
dimensions.
so that's documented
Sure.
as to what we're going
Yeah.
to see. in
Understood.
time. And, and that would satisfy me on that aspect. But, again, I still would like to see something relative to the ultimate use of this pond. And, that could be a plan.
hay is a product too, so.
Yeah,
Yeah, you can always let
agricultural
the grass
product.
grow and
Yeah.
hay it.
And if that's stated as being what the agricultural product is, I don't have a problem with that either.
Yep.
But it was mentioned, Christmas trees and fruit trees. So maybe just like on that same picture, just outline.
Yeah, I'll get
the
something.
The planting area and what's intended to go
Yep.
there and.
And then that just for the next meeting. And then, cause I'm sure you want to get this project done as soon as possible. So,
I'm in no hurry. It's
yeah. But so the next meeting, I guess,
Sure.
or I'll just wait until you,
Yeah, I'll drop.
get me something.
I'll put it together and drop it off. I'll go over with him with a timeline. We'll put together a timeline with a list of events on when those things are set to be in
Put
place.
the dimensions on it, like you said, how wide
Yeah.
it's gonna be.
Yep. Yeah,
Basically
simple
the
enough.
slope.
Yep, yeah, linear footage for that and the dimensions of the soil, that's fine.
Christine, you have anything you want to chime in with?
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, I'm on the same page as everyone else.
Now we can't hear you.
Okay. I'm not muted.
I don't know if your signal isn't that strong. We're getting bits and pieces.
let's see. I don't know. I sent a chat.
Yes. Christine can't hear, or we can't hear her.
You can't hear me.
Yeah, we can't hear her, so maybe her
So-
connection will
oh,
improve.
well.
We need a motion to table this till next,
Doesn't hurt to do it as a motion, and, you know, maybe Christine can raise her hand as a nod to signify aye if she, or fingers down, thumb down for nay, something like that.
Okay.
anyone else have anything to? I mean, it sounds good, at least have something on paper that we can really look at it. Okay, can I have motion? Motion to table?
I make a motion that we table the application, applicant Stephen Mazzarelli, Mountain Road, Assessor Map 231, Block 001, Lot 019, relative to the construction improvements, relative to an additional riprap swale addition, plus a agricultural plan.
I have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Christine?
Aye.
That's an aye.
Okay, motion carries. Okay, we'll see you next month.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next applicant Paul Torres. Location 438 Notting Hill Gate, assessor map 220, block 001, lot 003. Activity patio installation and restoration of formerly filled wetland.
So I can give a little bit of a background on this. This originated from a complaint about a patio area being constructed. I'll share the sketch now. Give me a quick second. So this was a patio, a hardscape patio, not wood, built in this area here, encroaching on wetlands. Upon, further visit with the property owner, this kind of 20 by 20 area here had also been at some point filled. These are actual mapped wetlands from the subdivision. And there was a little bit of yard expansion into this area, a structure over here. And so the property owners wanted to, come into compliance, maintain the patio area. And so I had them put together some, the start of a restoration plan to kind of figure out a way to maintain the patio in that location while also kind of restoring a formerly degraded wetland area. And I will say, being on the site, the area where they did construct the patio there, it looked like there had been fill put there, not by these property owners, but when the house was originally constructed. However, this area down here, I believe, which is now a burn pit area, that they're proposing to restore, that area had been expanded by these property owners. So this is what was provided, and I guess I'll let them speak a little bit more to it.
Yeah, so we Paul Torres. So we installed the patio not knowing there was wetlands on the property. I went on the website and, no permit needed for hardscaping.
Mhm.
So we took all the spoils from that area and put it in that 20 by 20 area, not knowing that was wetlands. Nate brought it to my attention. So I'm willing to get, a piece of machinery in there, to clean up that area, get it back to restored area, put down a wetland seed, and we can go from there.
This is the 20 by 20 area?
I think it's either 20 by 20 or 30 by 30.
The patio's in there and it's already been filled, is that,
Yeah, the patio's already been constructed.
what was it filled originally?
I believe it was a prior
Yeah.
wetlands fill.
We've got some pictures that I sent to you that when we first got that, when we bought the house in 19, and the backyard is pretty much was all grass area.
Mhm.
You can see there that that's all grass.
Okay.
On the backside of the house also.
So it was grass in the wetlands.
Yeah. Yep.
Sorry,
Yeah,
I'm trying to share the.
Wetlands, the house, so I would think they would have filled it anyway, you know, being so close. When they pulled the foundation dirt out,
Sure.
so that's okay. So you're just basically gonna reseed that 20 by 20?
Yeah, so there's still more spoils in that area that, I'll just get an excavator there, take it down. I think it's about 8 or 10 inches deep. We'll take that back out, get that shipped out, and then just put a wetland.
As long as you don't do more damage going in
Yep.
with
Yep, no,
the.
we should be okay.
I could
So,
say
and then I just,
track, like 40-foot track going into fit at 20.
well, there is a track in the backyard already, but, so,
Okay,
Yeah, they should have reasonable access to get in there to do
Yeah,
all
yeah.
that work.
get in there.
Right. So yeah, I figured that, I guess depending, this is just the meeting to accept the application and rule on whether or not it's a significant activity in need of a public hearing. But during the next meeting, you can work on conditioning and
Okay,
like what kind of seed mixes or what you want to have me kind of use discretion versus,
Okay.
actually have as a condition.
okay, yeah, that sounds good to me. A motion to accept, I don't believe it needs a public hearing.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, no
Oh.
public hearing.
That motion,
Motion to accept applicant Paul Torres of 438 Notting Hill Gate, assessor map 220, block 001, lot 003, for patio installation and restoration of a formerly filled wetland of about 20 by 20 feet.
hey, can I have a second? Oh, no, public hearing, it's not a.
And no
significant
public hearing
activity.
is necessary.
Okay. Yeah, it's not a significant activity, I think is the
Correct.
wording. Okay.
I'll second the motion.
Favor,
Aye.
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 Christine, okay, motion carries. Okay,
Thank you.
Okay, next applicant Lori Ezek. Location 1163 Pothier Road, assessor map 213/001/005. Activity pond maintenance and restoration of cleared wetlands.
So I'll start this off. Let's see, I'm just trying to share their screen here. Can everyone see? So this was, again, brought to our attention through an interoffice complaint, but just about activity happening in and around wetlands off whatever, what road is this Pothier? Yeah, Pothier. Yeah, so I went on, sent a notice of violation. These folks met with me on site, they weren't aware of the regulatory requirements, but they had done some kind of reworking of the edge of the pond there that had been there for, as long as we have aerial photos showing it there. As you can see, this whole area this is like a lower yard that's a floodplain to this stream here. And this is set up quite a bit higher here. So this is obviously a lower spot. And so in walking the site with them, I don't know, do you mind if I explain this here or do you want to?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. This area here, so this is the border of Camp Mo. If you see this is the Camp Mo YMCA property. And so, they hadn't realized that the line was over as far as it is. They did have some pins out there we were able to find. So this line isn't quite accurate. And so we figured out this area, they're going to let that naturalize on its own there as lawn. We also identified a 10-foot buffer area to this stream here that they're going to let go back naturally with sort of intermittent access to the stream. It's a native brook trout in there. So give them access to the stream, but also provide a buffer to that stream. And then this area, while they had been clearing the pond, they inadvertently kind of pushed out into these wetlands here. You can see this kind of light blue is the area of clearing and grading and deposition of spoils. And so, they had proposed kind of bouldering off this area, which was more open to maintain kind of the former wetland line that had been there. But this whole area had been being maintained as lawn for as far back as we have aerial photos. And then they had installed a sandy beach here. There's some, you know, and they're gonna restore to grass all the disturbed areas. But does that cover everything?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
This pond wasn't maintained a number of years ago, was it?
What do you mean?
I
Maine?
Yeah,
thought
we
someone
always-
came in for, it might not, I don't think it was you, but maybe a previous owner came in and maintained the pond. He dredged it. Might be a different pond. I know it was on
No.
Pothier.
Yeah, must be a different pond.
Yeah,
It could have
We've
been
been
even,
mowing that for,
yeah,
Long
for a
back,
long
long
time.
back.
could have been
remember.
10 years ago, the people were in.
yeah, we've been mowing it
Could have
longer
been
than
a
that.
neighbor.
Yeah.
And I can show you, I'll bring up the near map again. Let's see. Shoot. Just to give you an idea of where it is. You can see I drew that in, but this is Camp Mo and the Camp Mo pond here, Pothier, and then Brandy Hills comes up here. This is the Goshen line here. So it may have been this pond here. There's a farm, like a large farm with
Oh,
an
yeah, that's
easement on it. It has
Oh,
a
okay.
large pond back here, so it could have been those folks.
Yeah.
I think that's the only other pond on Pothier, but this is pretty small compared to that pond.
But basically, everything's being either let go back to natural
Yes.
or restoring to grass.
What part, excuse me, I'm Lori, by the way. What part, we have to let the Phragmites all grow back is what you're saying, right? The Phragmites,
Like
because
the
it's
river,
just
right.
below to,
By the river's edge, you're talking about 10.
Yeah, the,
oh,
But if
right.
we've been mowing it for years, why do we gotta let an invasive species come back on the river's edge? It was grass originally, just curious, that's all.
Well, and
That's the only part that
I- and I know part of this is, you know, this is an application that you're putting in because
Yeah.
there was clearing into the wetlands, so it's like an exchange almost for the original
Mhm.
violation, right? That's, and I'm sorry if I didn't communicate that on site
Yeah,
well,
I
but
wasn't
that's,
sure, I was gonna.
yeah, so that the idea is that, you know, you did the work, you pushed into kind of this, I don't know if you can see on the
Over there,
screen,
yeah.
this
So we're gonna
area
put the
here.
rocks there, so we don't-
Right, so now you're gonna put the rocks there and, you know, we had talked about letting a lot of the area renaturalize
Yeah.
a little bit, but, you know, you're free to discuss with the commission the extent at which you want to do that. And, you know, that would be up to them to decide what they thought was reasonable.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, but you feel like the Phragmites are just like
yeah, they will.
overtaking
Yeah.
the whole property down there.
When the grandkids like to go, you know, in the brook and look
Oh,
at
yeah,
the
they're loving it.
fish and,
Yeah, they
you know
love
what I
the
mean?
pond, yeah.
It's-
So there's a beach there now, or you're gonna install a beach?
No,
there's a-
no, it's
There's a
there.
beach, yeah.
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 You're gonna install one?
It's there now.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
there
it's
now.
yeah.
installed, yeah. It's small, it's only like 10 by
Oh,
20. It's a little thing.
Yeah, I don't know what we can do about he has a good valid point.
Yeah.
Especially a small pond like that. It won't be a pond for long.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and there's difference between the actual pond itself. And so the pond, there's no Phragmites in the pond now, right?
No.
Or do you? I
'Cause we
mean,
clear
there,
the edges.
there may be, they clear it out. The Phragmites, this, so you can kind of see this sort of deer hair texture on the aerial photo. That's all Phragmites.
Okay.
And so they're talking about kind of along this edge here and into this. I mean, this may be a seasonally high photo, but like this is Phragmites and here, this is Phragmites in here, right? So this is probably where they,
Got some brush in it, yeah.
that's where it would, right.
Like a mixture.
That's where they cleared into this area over
Right-
here.
right there, yeah.
So, that is Phragmites and we'll likely come back to Phragmites. I mean,
Yeah,
there's,
we're gonna let it grow back.
yeah, there's value in Phragmites. I mean, it's an invasive, right? But it has negatives, but you know, it doesn't mean that there's no value to having it remain natural as well. So,
So this has been mowed for years.
yeah, I went back to the oldest aerials that we have and it's been,
So basically,
been
I
in
don't
and
have
it's-
a problem with mowing what he's been mowing. It just, the new stuff that he started digging up over on the
Yeah, I'm
other
gonna leave
side,
that
I mean,
alone.
that has to go back to whatever it,
Which one's
Okay.
the,
Off to the right.
over near the, what the camp owns.
okay, so
Oh,
let
and over
that,
there,
let the
too.
Phragmites grow back there?
Yeah, whatever was there before
there,
should
keep it.
probably come back.
That's what it was. I just kept pushing over with the mower because there's also a runoff stream brook that
Mhm.
runs down alongside.
Uh-huh.
And basically that's just for maintenance because it would clog
Oh,
flood over sometimes, you know what I mean?
Okay.
So this way I could just access it to clean it. That's the only reason I did it.
so so this is the Camp Mo area over here. This is the only area adjacent to Camp Mo.
Mhm.
This is a separate property here. So that's this area, yeah, they kind of, you can see this is a aerial photo from 2021 and it hadn't been mowed. So like he's saying, he was kind of pushing into that
Yeah.
area over time.
Yeah.
This is a better photo of kind of, so right now this is all lawn. So he's proposing kind of restoring that back. But you can see that 10-foot buffer that they, that we had on this kind of, this is from 2022. It looks like that did have kind of a buffer in 2022, right? So you're kind of pushing the mowing out toward this
A little
creek
bit.
a little bit too.
So the Phragmites along all the
River.
Phragmites that are invading the river on our side, just leave those alone now, let them come in, or?
Gotta leave a
Come
10-foot
in.
buffer there.
I would say they should probably go back to the way they were in this aerial photo before you did it, but I would say, with me anyway, my opinion is I would let you keep mowing around the pond
Yeah,
like you had been.
okay.
Okay.
I don't know what the rest of the commission thinks, but that's what my thought is. I mean, you've been doing it for years.
Yeah,
I mean,
Yeah, I
the
agree.
other guy that was here, he's got a pond that he mows around,
Yes.
so.
Yeah, I think that
Built the pond.
Yeah.
Is
Okay.
is the pond free of vegetation on the surface?
Yes,
It is. So it's good and clean.
yes.
Yeah, I mean,
We
you're
swim in it.
maintaining the pond,
That-
which
you're-
is the best
That is
thing.
adding to maintenance of the pond by mowing.
Yes.
Yeah, and so this, I mean, we didn't make them get a wetlands map for this. It's really, if you're on the site, it's kind of apparent, right? That this is way up high, or I don't know, what would you say, like 10 feet above everything else?
Yeah.
And then it kind of drops down and this
It's
is
pretty
all
flat
a
down there. It's pretty,
floodplain.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
So, they had purchased the property and this had already been lawn, but this is probably all wetland soils in here.
Mhm.
So anything that the commission wants to, as far as a buffer along this area, that's, I mean, it's within wetlands. So it's not like it's in the upland area. But of course you can allow them to continue the activity they've been doing for
And
years.
my opinion would be to let them do what they've been doing and just leave that buffer that before you really got in there and tried to get rid of. The
Okay.
problem with the Phragmites are if we let the Phragmites go, somebody's gonna be coming back with a permit to dig them all out or
Yeah.
use Roundup to kill them. So, I mean, I don't know how you win even
And-
along the river,
Right.
Well, yeah, and that's up to you. I mean, that's really up
that's
to you
up to
because
you.
all this activity is technically in wetlands, right? So, you're permitting them to continue a residential use in wetlands. If someone else wanted to use Roundup to kill them all,
Yeah, I mean.
up
if
to
it
you whether or not you
occurs,
wanted to permit it.
If in 5 years you come back and say, I gotta do something with the Phragmites,
Now it's in a water course.
yeah, that's even worse.
I don't like that. I mean, if that's the case, Jay, then why can't they just maintain the Phragmites that are up at that and not
That's,
No.
ruin the side of the water? Just
that's what I was,
don't dig out the,
just don't dig them out.
Yeah, just don't
Yeah.
do well.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
And
What do
it's
you mean?
flat, there's no
Flat.
rocks over there or anything,
No,
it's just
it's
a,
just lawn all the way out to the river's edge now.
Yep.
Since he's been there, we haven't been mowing it because he told,
are they
we
all
left the
coming back in?
buffers, so. They're starting to already. They're
oh,
already
yeah,
tall.
them things are
Are they?
brutal.
They're crazy, yeah.
Brutal than Phragmites.
You can't kill them.
Where'd they come from anyway, them things?
sounds like a Greek god. I like it.
Yeah, I don't know.
So at the next meeting, you guys, I mean, again, so there's 2 meetings. This is the one where that's accepted and they get to determine whether or not it's in need of a public hearing. And then in the next meeting, they'll award the permit and condition it and,
Yeah.
so, this is the starting point and you can
Yeah, we can
iron down
accept
what
the
you want.
permit and then we can think about, I mean, myself, I'm fine with the mowing what you've been mowing.
Okay.
I'm a little on the fence with the rest where it goes up to the river, so I gotta think
To the
about
edge of the
that.
river. Okay.
Yeah,
The rest of the commission can think about it all.
Yeah,
but
Alrighty.
Next time we'll.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Okay.
guess I would like to see some photos of just along the river just,
Along the rivers, yeah.
just
okay.
along that section, that 10-foot buffer that we're
Yeah,
talking
I'll
about.
take, you want, I can take.
Just
some
to see what that looks like and,
All right.
I mean, 10
What do
feet
you
is.
mean when it grows back in? What's he
pictures.
saying?
No, now,
mean,
take pictures of, I don't know what it
Yeah.
looks like.
Oh, okay.
it's not, yeah, it's not
If
huge.
it's only 10,
It's only 10 feet,
it's like.
Yeah.
but it's not, it's not rocky, it's flat down there.
Yeah,
So
it's
that's
flat,
why
yeah.
you're able to mow.
Yes, exactly.
So it was cleared sometime previously, probably, because if you were to go below it or above it, it's rough.
Yeah, basically, well, from the river all the way to the house is grass until you get over to the camp.
I meant
hall.
going up the river. If you go up the river
Yeah,
to the right more, let's say, to the
This?
top of the screen,
over there, yeah.
it's,
That's Phragmites, yeah, and it
Oh, yeah.
starts,
way.
Phragmites, yeah.
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 So this is a 2022 aerial shot. And then this is what it looks like now. So that area has been kind of reclaimed in
Yes, you
this.
can see that, yeah.
Yeah.
And you can see here, this is that area of lawn. And then this is what it looked like in 2023. It was kind of like mostly Phragmites or whatever, grass, and then some access to the water. And then prior to that, it had been all kind of buffer area in 2022.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, they're working on the pond, expand a little bit, mow a
Yeah.
little bit
It's just
deeper
basically
into
mowing
it.
farther and farther over
Um,
to the brook,
that's all.
really.
So there's other things to consider might be, allowing them to keep the lawn, but have them establish some trees along the river so that they could still access it and use it, but holds the bank or whatever. It's,
Yeah. it might
work
be-
out whatever kind of
Might be a
condition you
real
want to
good
do.
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, can I have a motion to accept?
Going for first, no public hearing.
Yeah, I guess, I don't think it needs a public hearing.
Yeah, you can do a motion that covers both of those, just to accept it and to determine if it needs a public hearing.
It is, okay. I make a motion, well, excuse me. I make a motion to, well, first of all.
No.
I make,
First, we accept it, and
Yes.
generally we say whether it's significant activity, meaning if it's significant, you need a public hearing. If it's not, you don't.
right. I make a motion relative to applicant Lori. How do you say her last
Isaac.
name?
That's
Isaac.
it, yeah.
Isaac.
Yeah.
1163 Pothier Road, assessor map 213001/005. The activity is relative to restoration of cleared wetlands. The motion includes no public hearing requirement. And the motion includes a return with a is that you said?
You want photos of the
The photos of
buffer,
the
yeah,
edge.
Return with photos of the buffer,
Yes.
buffer
okay.
zone.
Yeah, all right,
Um,
fine.
but
Okay, can I have a second?
second.
All in favor?
I,
Motion carries. Christine says yes.
Mhm.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. See you next month. Next, the
Can you
staff
confirm that?
report,
The pictures.
and enforcement
Photos is mine.
report.
You're good. You can just send the photos to me. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep, see ya. Is this on me? Is it enforcement report? Okay. Two properties on Winstead Road, 2904 Winstead Road. This is the Dan Fragale property, Fragale paving property. This is a longstanding violation. We eventually ended up speaking with his retained engineer because there was some kind of communication difficulty over the summer. Basically nailed down what he has to do and then sent the property owner a notice giving them until October 1st to submit a full plan, an application to inland wetlands for review. If he doesn't, then I'll issue a cease and desist with show cause, and we'll take it from there. Technically, I already issued a cease and desist. You had done a show cause for something for like the prior permit that they didn't get, so I could even just start fines probably based on on what we have on file.
Mhm.
So October 1st is the date I'm looking at before
Okay,
going
sounds
forward
great.
to give them a good amount of time.
Okay.
The other property, 3350 Winstead Road, this was the agreement that you all had talked about, where, this was AJK Mining, so it was a mining recycling yard off Winstead Road. They were found to have filled a very large area of wetlands and were asking for kind of a relief from permitting until they submitted a plan to change the use of the property to something that would be better than environmentally than a material recycling yard. Planning and zoning's, the commission agreed to this. We haven't had it signed yet because planning and zoning had an additional condition before they signed anything. They wanted the restoration plan in by September 1st. To you, submitted to inland wetlands, and then they would sign it and
Mhm.
kind of start there. They said okay with that. They were fine with it. They were going to follow up with SLR, which is their retained engineering consulting, environmental firm. I reached out to their environmental restoration coordinator there, and he said, as of today, he's heard nothing from them, even though they told us that they had reached out to them. So I have a feeling they're not going to make their September 1st deadline, and it's likely that I'll do a show cause for the next September meeting for this. So this one may be, there may be lawyers involved, and there's been issues with this property in the past. I know Jay and Christine know, related to mining and violation and legal action. So, yeah, hopefully they submit a plan and we can just work from there. But otherwise,
Okay.
one more thing before going to agent determinations, I did receive a notification. Now I don't have it for a new solar project that's going in on Lover's Lane. This is doesn't require or doesn't. Energy projects of a certain size, for those who don't know, are approved by the siting council and not through local jurisdiction. So this is a sufficiently large, I think it's 3 megawatt project that there's no, inland wetlands has no jurisdiction and neither does planning and zoning. So DEEP does the environmental review and the siting council does everything else related to the approval on the site. So they've formally submitted that application. Conservation Commission provided comments on the last large solar development. So that's probably what'll happen from there. But just so that you know, if the Inland Wetlands Commission wanted to submit comments, they're free to do so.
Is it near that river?
What?
Does it abut the river?
No, it's on the other side of the road. So it's actually adjacent to Major Bessie Park,
Mhm.
that's on Riverside. So it's on the back side of that property there, and it's
Is there a
old.
field there? They're gonna.
Yeah, old Butch Klug
Oh, okay.
fields on that. They're kind of low quality, and then they're going to clear a bunch of trees up the side of the. It's actually a north-facing slope, but they're clearing enough trees that they should be able to get enough.
Is that land
access.
trust land?
No, it was owned by Butch Klug, and then it transferred to someone else, and now it's owned by Lodestar, which is a solar development firm. So this was their notification that they've submitted an application. The next step is that it'll go to siting council, will reach out to the municipality, and they'll provide all of their submittal to us. So it's all open. I'll share it with folks when it comes in, and if you all feel like wetlands should weigh in, you're free to do so. That's the
It
time.
affects wetlands in some way, near a river or there's runoff concerns.
I'll show you, since I've been having this up, I'll show you the near map on this, just to give you an idea of where it is. All right. Can you see Christine? Yeah, okay. We had already talked about this in conservation anyway. So this is Country Woods, I think. Right, like down here is, there's a little commercial area. This is Lover's Lane.
Yep.
This property, yeah, just these two properties. So here's the park.
Yep.
That's like 130 acres or something. And then these are the mapped wetlands on the site.
Okay, so they're in the cleared fields?
Yeah, they're going to be primarily, there was some internal workings with them because there was an access easement when this property was original deeded, which was a straight line right up to here to provide an access to the back of the park. But there's so much topography in here, it's completely unworkable if they wanted to put a road in. So they had to do a whole study and they proposed an easement to the city on this part of the property, allowing access through like switchbacks to get up through here if they ever did want to retain the right to build a road. But they're going to clear all the way to that edge. So essentially where my cursor is, I think they're going to fill this whole thing in and then all the way to here. And then the wetlands are going to be untouched and it'll all be fenced in.
They're staying back 100 feet.
I believe it's more than that, but once I have the plans, I can show you exactly, how far away that they'll be from there. This may be the only pinch point over here because they're leaving room for that access road for the city to come in. But so, yeah, I just wanted to bring that to your attention. I'll give you more information when that comes out.
Well, this would basically go to Hartford anyway.
Correct. And, if there was any kind of petition filed by a neighboring landowner or something to block it, it would all go through the siting council. And if you wanted to submit comments, they would just, we'd collect them, we'd submit them through the formal process, and they would say, thank you for your comments, and they may or may not consider them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
And
Yep,
okay,
sorry.
that's agent determinations, or is there anything else?
No, there's nothing else. And I don't know if you want me to run through those, but mostly entirely work within the upland review area, mostly sheds, commercial buildings, one underground storage tank, but all, significantly far from the wetlands. I'll let you take a look if you have any questions.
What's the tree removal?
So this is actually on that property on Newfield Road with the pigs.
Oh, okay.
It's not the pig property, but it's the people whose property the dumping was on.
Yeah.
There
Oh,
was
yeah,
some,
that was
remember the
tree
dead
they wanted
ash
to cut
trees?
down. Yeah, okay, I understand.
Right. So they wanted a permit because it is quite, they didn't want to get a survey and it's probably in
Right.
wetlands.
Okay.
And there's a couple, there was like 2 or 3 trees, enough that if it's one tree on the edge, I usually just let them go. But if it's more than one and it's within wetlands, I,
Yeah.
make them get a
Okay.
permit.
Where's 775 Main Street, that multifamily?
That is if you're in the old Kmart Plaza, in the back of the plaza, and there's the river there, kind of like by Town Fair Tire part.
Okay,
And if you went toward the river, toward Main Street, it's one of those residential houses between Main Street and that plaza.
okay.
So it was an old multifamily. It burned down, and then this developer is going to rebuild it within compliant with zoning. And there's actually between the river and this structure, there's an old levee that was built after the flood, kind of an unofficial. The city acquired all this acreage of flooded lands and they just built levees everywhere through the city. So it's just one of those. So there's really no way water could get to the river.
Yeah, it's across
This
the
was the
street from
Ebner-
that medical supply building.
Yes.
The vacant lot.
Vacant lot there, yep.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Several years ago.
yep, and it's going to be I believe another 6 family.
'Cause it's a good sized chunk of
That's a big
land.
lot.
for-
Yeah, it's big enough. It complies. They are zoning allows them to rebuild exactly in the footprint, regardless of if it was conforming or not. And I believe that they're going to actually, just make it conforming to zoning, just
Yeah.
because the lot's large enough to do that.
Yeah, I guess the only thing left is adjournment. I have a motion.
Yeah, I motion we adjourn.
I have a second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Christine says yes. Motion carries.
Thanks, Christine.